So now the state of Ohio wants to require an ID to access adult websites. And the state may finally outlaw police quotas. And should the mayor and Toledo City Council members make more money?
It's a Scott Sands Show.
Hey there. How y'all doing? It's episode 2546 of the Scott Sands Show podcast. I believe I may be live on Facebook and X right now. I'm not honestly sure. I'm trying out a new platform called Riverside. We'll see if this works. It's great to have you here. By the way, you can find me on Facebook, The Scott Sands Show. I am at Scott Sands Media on X and TikTok. Scott Sands on Instagram. Of course, you can find the Scott Sands Show still on iHeartRadio and soon to come on all of the other platforms as well, Spotify and Stitcher. And we'll have the video up on YouTube later. I'm trying to figure out how to stream to YouTube as well on this new platform. This whole video thing, I mean, quite frankly, it's new to me, and I'm not very comfortable with the video. I'm a radio guy. But it's a new world. I'm trying to figure things out. I've got these huge monitors in front of me. And to get the camera above the monitors, I've had to place it really high, looking down on me and my rapidly balding head. I've tried to put ambient lighting in my home studio, and it's making everything look red. So I haven't figured out all of these aspects yet. To answer your question, because I did do a podcast last week, but I was on the radio in Mississippi on Super Talk Mississippi, which I'll tell you about in a second. No, I don't have a new job yet. I am still looking for work. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you know anybody hiring somebody in marketing, communications, public relations. I do have a lot of fantastic partners that I'm working with on the side, and it's great to have these longstanding friendships and partnerships with so many people who have supported the radio show in the past. I was on Super Talk Mississippi last week, which is a wonderful network, a locally owned company in Mississippi. It's like 12 radio stations, I think, cable television, video stream at supertalk.fm, and I had a great time. I consider Mississippi to now be really my home state. I was born in Mobile, Alabama. I worked in some other cities in Alabama as well. I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but I went to high school on the Mississippi Gulf Coast at a small school called St. John in Gulfport. And a lot of longtime friends still live there. So I consider the coast and Mississippi, and worked in Hattiesburg, Laurel for a while too, consider that to be like really kind of home, even though I've lived all over the country doing this radio thing. So it was fun to talk to and be on the radio back home in Mississippi and talk about things that are happening in Mississippi. I didn't post, I don't believe, any full episodes of the show, but I put some clips up there last week, including great conversations with Ken Block from Sister Hazel. We talked about a lot of stuff happening in Mississippi. They want to abolish the state income tax in Mississippi, as Vivek Ramaswamy has proposed doing in Ohio. School choice is a big issue in Mississippi as well. Seafood labeling is a big deal because there are a lot of restaurants and stores that sell seafood from around the world and try to pass it off as being from the Gulf of America. And there's a bill that would require restaurants to say where their seafood is from. Because I got to tell you, there's nothing better than fresh Gulf shrimp, fresh fish right out of the Gulf of America. I prefer Gulf oysters, although my buddy Josh at Farnsworth Cocktail Bar in Waterville has amazing oysters. If you haven't been there in Waterville, it ain't that far away. If you don't live near Waterville, it's, I kid you not, like a 15-20 minute drive. Book a reservation though, because it does fill up fast. Oysters are terrific. He's got a lobster gnocchi right now. I had gumbo when I was in there on Friday, which was great because I'd been in Mississippi or talking about Mississippi all week. So I got to have some amazing gumbo. He did a terrific job. He's got a lot of New Orleans flair to his dishes. And the menu is always changing at Farnsworth Cocktail Bar because he's getting all the fresh ingredients in. But what he does do really well for a place that's an oyster bar is his Smashburger, his cheeseburger, which I kid you not, might be the best damn cheeseburger I've ever had. Ask him to double smash it and get bacon and a fried egg on top. It's like my cheat meal because I'm trying to lose weight still. I'm down 100 pounds, trying to get past this plateau and shed another 25 before the summer if I can with RixaHealth.com, another longtime partner of the show as it happens. I hadn't planned to start off with a bunch of plugs, but I'm continuing on the RixaHealth.com plan and the weight loss journey I've been on now for about 15 months, and I feel absolutely amazing. Look, here's the deal, because I didn't do a podcast last week. I thought I should mention this again. Obviously, no, I don't have a job, but I'm going to keep doing the podcast as long as I can, because otherwise it's just me and Tiger, the cat, my producer, who's off to the side taking a nap now in the apartment looking for a job all day. So I've still got stuff to say. There's still stuff happening that I'd like to comment on. Although the video with my pale face and this blotch that I've developed as I've gotten older makes me feel somewhat at times uncomfortable on camera, but I'm here to do it, because what else am I going to do to spend 30 or 40 minutes out of the day? I do want to thank the many other fantastic longtime partners of mine, including RixaHealth.com and Farnsworth Cocktail Bar. Of course, 4 Guys on a Roof.com, Jamie and Mike there, the Extreme Roofers, Third Street Cigar, and all of my friends out there, Dr. Mickey Frame, The Art of Men's Grooming. I got to go see Christy this week for a beard trim and a haircut. And they've got a bunch of great stylists there at The Art of Men's Grooming. Whiskey Red Saloon. I live at the Commodore Perry. Please don't swat me as everybody else is getting swatted these days. I won't tell you what floor I'm on, but we've got a bar downstairs, Whiskey Red Saloon. They'll do line dancing tonight. Wednesday night, they do line dancing, and that's a lot of fun to watch. Got dragged out there once to line dance as well. Toledo Tech Loft, where I would love to do a couple of these podcasts from their podcast studio, Ozzy's General Market, and Alp Nicotine Pouches, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I'll give Tucker Carlson's company a plug, and I will share a link. If you use nicotine pouches, these are a much better lip pillow. They've got a lot more flavor, moisture, better lasting. You can get a great deal. You can save some money if you use the link that I'll put in the comments here after I'm done with the podcast. I was talking in Mississippi last week on Super Talk Mississippi. And since this is not the radio show, I'm in my home studio. I am enjoying a glass of bourbon, just a small little sip. As you can see from my background, I do enjoy bourbon and a cigar from time to time still. I talked to the chief distiller of Cathead Distillery in Jackson, Mississippi on the radio show I did last week, and discovered this is a Mississippi originated, a Mississippi sourced bourbon, which I wasn't aware of before. I think they're the only bourbon. There may be another company, another distillery in Mississippi. Bourbon does not technically have to be from Kentucky. That's a common myth. And you can watch the entire segment with Gabe from Cathead Distillery. It's up on my Facebook page and YouTube as well. But I found this bourbon to be absolutely amazing. It's 7-year aged. It's called Old Soul. They do I think 3 or 4 different bottles of Old Soul bourbon. This was their 7-year. It's, if I get this correct, a 71% corn mash, 20 or 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. And I find it delicious. It might actually be one of my new favorite bourbons. It's got a nice cherry vanilla caramel taste at the beginning, notes of that when you first taste it, and a nice rye peppery finish to the bourbon. It's very good. A lot of my friends enjoyed it. They're more bourbon snobbish than me, but seriously, I may have to get another bottle of this when I'm done with this one. It's Old Soul at Cathead Distillery in Jackson, Mississippi. So there are some things I want to cover this afternoon. And again, please, I'm not doing this podcast as a replacement for the old radio show. I hope you will continue to listen to Fred and everybody on WSBD and support my friends at iHeartRadio and all of the local sponsors who advertise on local radio. That's very important. Before I get to things like the police quota legislation, The big story this week nationally, I think maybe, well, there are quite a few stories actually that we could get into and might later in the week. But yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this, the JFK files were dropped. And as expected, there's really been no groundbreaking, earth shattering information that I've seen come out of this. Of course, I have not read all 80,000 documents. I'm counting on a lot of feedback, a lot of people who are going through everything that the National Archives published. But again, I've said this from the very beginning. We're not going to learn really anything new from the JFK files. We may learn, or we may have some of our assumptions confirmed that the CIA was engaged in some pretty shady operations. We may learn that the FBI, the Secret Service, law enforcement dropped the ball and perhaps should have known what Oswald was planning based on his behavior. He was certainly known to our law enforcement and intelligence communities before the assassination attempt on JFK. They may have dropped the ball, and that may be somewhat embarrassing. Maybe embarrassing to learn how involved the CIA was in foreign governments and overthrowing foreign governments. But I don't believe the CIA killed JFK. They may not have liked him, and certainly did not. He wanted to break up the Central Intelligence Agency and break up the national intelligence apparatus. But a big, giant conspiracy. I mean, hell, the CIA tried multiple times to assassinate Fidel Castro and couldn't do it. I don't think that they would be able to assassinate a very popular sitting president of the United States. I think it's just hard for us to accept the Occam's razor principle that the simplest solution is probably the truth, that one man could kill an American president. But we almost saw it happen to Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. One guy on a roof with a rifle could do it if they're determined and if there are failures of the security details. I had an interesting conversation with author Brad Meltzer last week on my radio show on Super Talk Mississippi, and he put it like this: if you dive into the conspiracies, and Brad Meltzer, former host of Decoded on the History Channel, is familiar with all of the stuff and knows people at the National Archives and in national security. Put it pretty succinctly. We don't want to accept the fact that a lone gunman could kill the president, and we've tried to assign blame over the decades. In the 60s, the height of the Cold War, we pointed the finger at the communists, at Russia, at Cuba. In the 70s, after Watergate, we had this huge distrust of the government, and we blamed the CIA. In the 80s, when the Godfather movies were becoming super popular, the mafia did it. And now, certainly again, we've got a huge distrust of the government and media, and we're once again saying, what are you trying to hide? What's the conspiracy? What don't you want us to know? His book is The JFK Conspiracy. As we get more information, as more people have a chance to read all 80,000 documents, I would like to do an episode talking about the JFK files some more, maybe on Friday. Gerald Posner has written a book called Case Closed, and I've talked a couple of times today. He's going through all of these files personally, and maybe he'll be able to join us for an episode of the Scott Sands Show podcast on Friday to talk about what new information may be in the files. Again, I don't think we will learn much from them, but I could be wrong. A lot of the documents I've seen posted that have gone viral, the Underhill memo, things like that, were already known for the most part. There have been some things that have been published today that are now unredacted, but Oliver Stone pointed to a lot of these things in his JFK movie, and many of those things have since been debunked. I know Glenn Beck today is trying to test the magic bullet theory, which has also been debunked. The layout, the seating in the limousine from the initial thoughts were wrong. And people have tried to recreate the assassination with the same gun, same ammo, same positioning as Oswald in the past. So I haven't watched it yet, but I will go back and see what Glenn Beck was able to find in trying to recreate the actual shots that killed JFK. And again, a lot of shady stuff happened. There's no doubt about it. Leaving Dallas so fast, not allowing the Dallas doctors to perform an autopsy in Dallas. The lack of transparency and the fact that 40 years have gone by and they're trickling out documents. And I don't think we're getting all the documents this week either. I think there's still a bunch of files that the FBI and maybe the CIA have or got rid of that we may never see. So again, I don't think we'll see anything new, but I do enjoy a good conspiracy. I do enjoy falling down the conspiracy rabbit hole from time to time. So that has my attention. In Ohio, new bill in the state legislature seeks to ban ticket and arrest quotas for law enforcement agencies statewide. This bill is sponsored by a couple of Republican members of the legislature and one Democrat, Bride Rose Sweeney of Westlake. Quotas, just so we're on the same page, talking the same language, are defined as mandates requiring a specific number of arrests or citations within a set period of time for any offense. This bill has support from the Fraternal Order of Police, shows some law enforcement backing. One of the sponsors, Republican Kevin Miller of Newark, is a former state patrol trooper, and he argues quotas pressure officers into unnecessary citations. And he notes that the Ohio Highway Patrol already bans quotas in their own union contract. So, and by the way, there would be a system to report quota violations to the AG's office. This is not the first time the state has tried to ban law enforcement quotas. There was a similar bill last year, but it failed to move out of committee in Columbus. So, look, as you know, if you've been listening to me for the last 2,545 episodes of this show on the radio or now in the podcast, I'm all for law and order, but police quotas are a rotten idea that really twist good policing into a numbers game. And from my perspective, here's why. Police, law enforcement should protect and serve, and not nickel and dime us to hit a target. These kind of quotas turn officers into revenue agents, harassing otherwise law-abiding people over petty stuff like a crack tailgate. And that's not justice. It's a trust killer, especially in some communities that are already skeptical of government overreach. Mandating arrest or ticket tallies reeks of bureaucratic micromanagement. I'm a champion of local control. Let law enforcement, let police, let sheriffs do their jobs based on real crime and not some desk jockey spreadsheet. Quotas are the state really kind of sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. Good officers, as we know, as we've talked about, focus on real threats like drug dealers, burglars, and not padding statistics. Quotas would force policemen to choose between doing their job and job security. And stressing out guys like Representative Miller's old highway patrol crew is not the right way to do it. Back the blue by letting them work, not by chaining them to some arbitrary goal or quota to make a revenue goal for the city or for the county or for the state. This means more of a court clog, more paperwork, more overtime, all on our dime. I hate waste. Let's focus the police on serious crime, not shaking down drivers to fund city hall projects. We're already cash strapped in the state. Let's not make it worse. Quotas tempt police to bend rules. Think about profiling or ticketing on flimsy pretexts just to hit that magic number. That's not law and order. It's corruption light. I want a principled policing policy, not a system that rewards cutting corners. And what we're seeing in this is a really rare bipartisan win. Police are not tax collectors, and citizens, we the people, are not their ATM. I agree with this bill. Ban quotas, let officers fight actual crime, and keep the government out of the patrol car. It's common sense, right? I'll drink to that. Old Soul Bourbon from Mississippi. Thanks to Jamie and Mike, by the way. 4guysonaroof.com, the extreme roofer. As we get into spring, you may be in need of a repair to your roof or maybe a whole new roof. Maybe you're thinking about getting ready to try to sell in this environment. A new roof could help that. You can get an estimate in less than 24 hours. And when they book the project, probably replace your whole roof in the same day. The Extreme Roofers, 4guysonaroof.com. One other state bill I wanted to talk about is HB 84, proposed by Republican state reps Steve Demetriou and Josh Williams, which would require age verification for accessing adult websites. You would need to submit a state ID, personal info, maybe even facial recognition technology to a third-party system to verify your age. The goal is obvious and admirable in a way. It's to protect kids and teenagers from accessing explicit content. Self-reporting on the IM18 checkbox is admittedly insufficient. Companies that fail to comply, the Pornhubs, the YouPorns of the world, are criticizing this, obviously, and they would face penalties. This bill also criminalizes using artificial intelligence to create porn involving children or non-consenting adults. I absolutely 100% agree with that. However, the age check thing is not going to work. Critics warn of privacy risks, comparing it to Orwellian surveillance, and I tend to agree with that. The parent company of Pornhub notes that such laws push users to unregulated, unsafe sites, and they question data safety, advocating for parental control instead. And that's where I actually agree with Pornhub. I get it. I get the instinct to shield kids from porn. Nobody wants their 12-year-old or 15-year-old stumbling onto an X-rated website or going there on purpose, but HB 84 seems like a sledgehammer when a fly swatter could do. It's got all sorts of issues that make this the classic case of government overreach, chasing a problem that's already got better fixes. Keeping kids off porn sites should start at home. Tools like parental controls are already available on every device you own. Mom and dad, you should be the ones locking things down without turning every adult into a government-tracked pervert. The Pornhub parent company, I think they're pronounced ALO, is right. Empower the parents and not bureaucrats. Even more concerning to me is the privacy nightmare. Handing over your driver's license or a face scan to some sketchy third-party verifier. Hard pass for me, bro. Data breaches happen all the time. Remember what happened with Equifax or Ashley Madison. Now just imagine hackers with a list of who's watching what, or worse, police and feds snooping without a warrant. Even if the data is deleted immediately, right? That risk to me is not worth it. Pornhub's data backs this up too. People don't stop watching. They just go underground. Unregulated sites don't care about your age or consent. So you're trading one problem, kids on Pornhub, for a worse one, kids on sketchy, unmoderated cesspools. It's not really a great job. Besides, VPNs make it pointless. Anybody with half a brain and a $5 VPN can bypass this. Your kids, your teenagers, already know how to do it for TikTok or Fortnite. Geofencing doesn't work either. Tech-savvy kids will laugh at this while lawmakers pat themselves on the back for accomplishing nothing. We've got bigger fish to fry in Columbus. Property taxes are through the roof. Inflation's eating our wallets. Childcare costs are like a second mortgage today. But the Republican Party continues to obsess over porn IDs. It's like mopping the floor during a hurricane. Focus on what's actually breaking the state. And I understand it. I get it. The bill's heart might be in the right place, but it's a clunky, invasive mess that trades liberty for a false sense of security. Sure, kids need protecting, but not by turning adults into Big Brother's data points. There are much smarter ways to do this without some sort of dystopian ID check at the digital door. It just does not work. And finally, here on the podcast today, Toledo's Salary Review and Recommendation Commission has proposed salary increases for the mayor and city council members starting next year. The mayor's salary, Wade Kapscavage, who's running for a third term, would increase about 13% to just under $153,000 a year. It's a full-time job, sure. City council members' salaries would increase 8.6% to just under $49,000 a year for a part-time job, or what is a part-time job now. Carrie Hartman, the president of council, would get an extra $4,500 a year stipend for her job as president of council. All of this takes into account cost of living adjustments, inflation, which must be nice. Most of you, I'm sure, would enjoy getting the occasional cost of living inflation increase, especially these days. Just so you know, the commission's benchmarks were made against other cities in Ohio. For example, in Cleveland, the mayor there is paid 43 cents per capita. In Cincinnati, it's 39 cents per capita. And Akron, a whopping 93 cents per capita. The average, 58 cents per capita, which is the formula they use to base Wade Kapscavage's, the mayor's increase here in Toledo. Believe it or not, that wasn't what caused the controversy. More people were upset about the council's pay increase instead of the mayor's. Here's where I'm probably going to surprise you, though. I'm not opposed completely to increasing their pay. I think 150K for mayor of a city our size is probably fair compensation, and increasing council pay also makes sense. Just under $49,000 a year for a city our size is chump change. 270,000 plus people in the city of Toledo. Inflation's real. I get this. We can't pretend $25 stretch like they did a decade ago. Paying the council members more, in some cases, may allow them to ditch their day job and focus on we the people, their constituents, and not treat council like a side hustle. Here's the rub, though, in my opinion. We don't need 12 council members for a city our size. That's bloated, in my opinion. I've said this for years, to the chagrin of many members of council. We should cut the size of Toledo City Council from 12 down to 9. Give the city a leaner, meaner, more accountable crew. Fewer seats would mean less overlap, less grandstanding, more of a focus. And plus, as a conservative, it's a win. Smaller government with the same output. And most importantly, it actually winds up saving the city money. If you reduce the size of city council from 12 members down to 9, and you can shape it up however you want. Maybe it's 9 districts, so they're smaller, serving a smaller district size, fewer constituents that they're serving, instead of having 6 at-large members of council. Maybe it's 6 districts and 3 at-large members. I personally prefer 9 districts with a smaller district size. But the whole point of that was you cut the size of the council down from 12 to 9, and you save $100,000, which pays for the mayor's pay increase and the pay increase of those 9 members of council. We don't have to foot the bill for this. Property tax already high. We've talked about that. Inflation's hitting all of us hard. Let's keep this pay increase, which I'm not necessarily on the surface opposed to. Keep it revenue neutral and reward the remaining members of council for stepping up and doing their job. Just some thoughts on that, and I'd love to hear your comments here on the Facebook page, The Scott Sands Show. You can comment on YouTube. I'm also, of course, on X and TikTok at Scott Sands Media. This was, I know, a short episode, as I explained, trying out this new video platform, but you can find the podcast everywhere. Subscribe to it, please. Leave comments. Tell your friends. The whole rigmarole. I appreciate it. I miss talking to you guys every day, and I look forward to reading your comments. Thanks.